What's all over?
The whole thing.
What do you mean?
Done.
Just like that.
That's it. That's that. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. The season is done. Sad sometimes.
Did it end the right way? Did the two teams that you wanted to see in the final get to the final?
Absolutely.
Oh, so you don't like Bergen Catholic?
But they weren't in the TFC bracket, so you know.
But see, I thought everybody's at the
I'm assuming you're talking about the field of six of the TFC.
Well, I just kind of think big picture.
Yeah. No, I listen. I think you're right. I think there was a place in my heart because of our history with their coach Joe Hammerly that really started in football, and he's just like this likable, chuckling, big gregarious guy, and he's really, he's there 20 years, but I don't think people look at Joe Hammerly as part of the clique of great lacrosse coaches in New Jersey. But that's because he's a football guy, first and foremost. They do now. They do, and it would have been fun to see him run the table. But hey, I thought the season came to a fitting end.
I heard he's going back to the football field this year.
Is that true? You know what? We saw Nunzio Campanelli on Friday night. I did not ask him that. We were at Coach Tony Carsage's retirement tribute goodbye dinner on Friday night. It was a lot of fun in New Jersey, in which Nunzio came, Coach Campanelli. Greg Toll was there.
Yep.
Okay. Fred Stengel was there, which kind of adds to the old Godfather theory: keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Well, you know what? This guy's a friend to us. Mike, was it the game that you thought all year we were going to get, or did you kind of think it was going to be Bergen and Summit in that Tournament of Champion final, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I can't lie, Mike. I definitely, if you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said it would have been Bergen Catholic and probably Summit. That's the way Summit had been playing defense, and I thought Bergen Catholic was the best team in the state. And you know what? Right now I could still say, if Bergen hits that shot in second overtime, if Kowalski doesn't make that save, it's Bergen and Summit in the final.
Yeah.
And I think the best two teams in the state played in that game, in that Del Barton Bergen Catholic game. I think that's what it came down to. The best two teams played for the non-public A championship.
Who do you two, and Mike, I'll start with you, of the two teams that made it there Saturday night in Bridgewater, what team had more pressure on them Saturday night to win?
No question, Del Barton. There's no question in the world, Del Barton. Those guys were feeling that freeze out since 2006, and they've been talking about it pretty much all season, which was uncharacteristic of Del Barton. They talked about game to game to game, but if you sat and talked to them after games a little bit, those guys, they were talking about 06 as having been a real bugaboo. That's an 8-year slump that they needed to get through. And Summit was a team that there weren't unbelievable expectations on those guys, They didn't win last year, and they were kind of in a rebuilding mode. They had a lot of new guys, new faces, and the expectations are always high in Summit, but I don't think they were as grandiose as they were at Del Barton.
Yeah, here's what Mike mentioned. We'll take a look at this graphic for Del Barton. They won the first 3 Tournament of Champions, but that, 2006 is forever. They lost their perfect season to Mountain Lakes in the TOC final in 07. Lost to Mountain Lakes the following year in 08. Lost to Summit in 2009 in the final. In 2010, didn't even qualify. In 11, lost to Summit in the semifinals. In 12, lost to Bridgewater Raritan when Raritan was on that great run, 11-5 in the semi. And last year, when they lost to Seton Hall Prep in the non-public A, they didn't even qualify. Yeah, it was. There was definitely pressure on Del Barton.
But that's what lacrosse gives you that's so unique, is that when you look at that graphic, those are all public schools they're losing to.
Yeah.
And the one thing lacrosse gives you is the public schools can and will be the dominant schools.
Yes.
There's no Group 3 football schools beating Brian Bowers, Del Barton Green Wave, right?
No.
Okay? And, well, listen, maybe a once in a lifetime, once in a while Group 3 public school. But you're talking about some consistency there, where Del Barton has been picked off by public schools. And 2013 did not qualify, right? I grabbed my chart from Del Barton's team from last year, right? And the one thing that's written on the chart, I was doing the Del Barton St. Anthony's game. This is in my conversation with Chuck Rubling, he said, this group, this is last year's group, okay? This group is one of our strongest groups ever. We have 21 seniors, okay? They didn't make it, okay? So it's like this group this year, it's like now they try to be the team that finally makes it, and you could tell when it was all said and done, they were sort of carrying that responsibility a little bit.
Mike, we were at the New York State semifinals last Wednesday night, so when Ridgewood is ahead of Del Barton at the half in the TOC semifinal, when they went to the break, did you think Del Barton was going to get clipped in the semifinal?
No, not really. I thought Ridgewood had played about as perfectly as they could as far as execution, as far as controlling the ball. I thought Cardew made a couple big saves. I thought they played about as well as they could, and I also thought two things. Del Barton hadn't played quite as well as I expected in the first half, and they have big third quarters, and I expected that they would do something in the third quarter. They would make an adjustment. Something would happen where they would do a little better job of dodging from the top and getting people open. So now I thought Del Barton would wear them down with their side, with their depth, and they were just a little better team.
Mike, do me a favor. Sit tight during these highlights and run out and buy me a lottery ticket because this guy's like Nostradamus. Here we go. Semifinal, Ridgewood, Del Barton. Ridgewood going to strike first here. Owen Smith, a minute and a half into the game, it's 1-0 Maroons. And look at Connor Mackey. Dude's got great feet. Look at him go. Top side. Tied at 1. About 6 minutes left in the quarter. And then Ryan Oderdonk. I like that name. Oderdonk! With the dunk. Del Barton up 2-1 off the loose change goal. Ridgewood would not go away in the first 24 minutes of this game. Matty Donovan. Look at the peel back burner right there, partner.
I mean,
awesome.
Come on. Crafty, low angle, impossible one to stop for the keeper.
Matt Shippey had a really good year for Coach Pounds. Real nice individual effort here downstairs. Puts Ridgewood up 3-2. 5 seconds left in the opening quarter. 5 seconds left now. Right after that goal, Connor Mackey with the pick. Emmett Cordray gets it. He had 3 in this game, so it was tied at 3 with 1 second left in the first quarter. Second quarter, it's tied at 4. Matty Laparo, who was flat out spectacular against Westfield in the quarterfinals. Look at that effort.
Listen, Mike Pounds' club has gotten better and better. They won another state championship, and they gave Del Barton all they could handle in this game, but JJ got it going.
Oh, he looking having fun there, right? The quick feet, the quick stick, the quick goal downstairs. Tied it at 5 with 8:08 left in the third. 23 seconds later, this is when this game started to go the way of the Green Wave. Jordan Dowiak, the Cornell bounder, great job getting the ball and getting the goal. Willie McBride, Willie Reynolds, underrated guy, going to find Connor Mackey, and then Mack makes it 7-5, 6 minutes left in the third. Reynolds again, head up. J.J. McBride, great feet, great left hand.
Yeah, that was Will McCarthy.
Will McCarthy.
Will Reynolds is at Princeton.
That's right, Yeah, had to get him name in, man. He'd hurt me with that big stick.
But JJ, I mean, this was really the pinnacle night for JJ McBride. Scoring, get his teammates involved. Dowiak again, and then McCarthy. His big body is always such a factor.
Yep, and get it to the hot guy, McBride, who had a career high 4 goals in this game, and he needed them, every single one of them, because in the second half he took this game over, and they go on to double them up, 12-6.
McBride so good from behind the cage, Mike, and you see him in this game doing some damage on the top side. So that's when you know the Green Waver's got it all rolling, when number 14 is moving and grooving all around the cage.
Mike did some extra work for us that day too. Mike, when you interview some of these kids around the tri-state, these Del Barton guys, I'll tell you, they give you great answers, don't they?
They give great answers. I tell you what, lacrosse kids in general give good answers, and the Barton kids give excellent answers. They really do, yeah. They get it. They get what you're asking, no doubt about it.
Well, here was Mike after the game talking to the Big O, Chad Otterman.
I'd say we're a third quarter team. Every third quarter we come out firing, and our offense showed that, especially JJ and Jordan Dowiak, Connor Mackey. We're playing fast and hard, and that's the kind of lacrosse we need to play, especially against Summit on Saturday. So
What about now? You guys go into Saturday against a team. It was a great game that first time, but there's revenge at hand. Do you guys play on that, or do you forget that game that lost to Summit?
I think it's good fuel for us, but I don't think we should think about it too much. I think it should just be in the back of our minds. I don't think it should be our driving force. I think if we play our game and we play fast and hard, I think we have a good shot of winning it.
What's behind that third quarter? Is it adjustments? Is it desire? Is it a little bit of all that?
It's a little bit of both. Being down a goal today really woke us up, and we knew that we could only have 24 minutes left in our season, so we really need to make some adjustments and get it done.
It's been since 2006. Has your brother reminded you?
All the time. So that's in our back of our minds, and we're looking to bring it home this year. But we got to keep working hard and practice the next 2 days and prepare for Summit.
Oh, it's at everyone's front of their mind. That's all we think about every day when we walk in the locker room. Someone's yelling TOC or something, and we always prepare for it. So it's always there.
Connor Mackey, he had a little zip on it on that night.
And Jim, we got a text late last Monday night from Doc McBride. He said some of the things that we said about him playing golf. He was laughing. And he also said that Jack would definitely come up and say hello. Now, you and I were at the state New York semifinals. Mike, the big question, did Jack McBride come up and say hello to you either at the semis or the final?
He started trouble.
No, Jack did not.
What in the world is going on?
Different people both those nights. I'm sure Jack didn't want to bother me. I get in the zone anyway before games. You guys are way more social than I am before a
Well, you actually are working hard.
I gotta tell you, I get in my zone. I kind of put my head down and get over to the scorer's table, get my job going. Yeah,
you're right.
No,
he's
does.
working. You and I, he's working. We're working the room.
Yeah, no
Jack
doubt about
McBride
it.
is one of the friendliest guys
different
ever.
approach.
You're
No
throwing
question.
it out there.
I love Jack McBride. Mike, I got to be honest. So I'm following you on Twitter when I was over at the semifinals, and my eyes almost popped out of my head. Not that Summit was up against Mountain Lakes, but that they scored. It's not like they're known for their offense, and they scored 6 goals like that, and that game was over early.
You know what, Mike? I think Summit was even a little surprised as it was going along. I had the sense on some of those dodges and some of those cuts that when guys dodged and saw that there was no slide or a slow slide, and when they were cut back door and they saw that they caught and there was nobody there really, as help, I had the sense that, like, wow, we didn't expect this to go so quick. You could talk after the game. They just talk about the confidence they had and the execution and what a great job the coaches did. But I really, truly had the impression that they and the Summit fans were as surprised as we all were that, Summit got out that fast. 7-0 just still boggles my mind.
And you heard the Del Barton kids talking about now Summit. Summit played the first game, Del Barton the second game, so they knew they had Summit. Sit tight, partner. Here we go. Del Barton, they knew they were getting Summit. Here's how Summit did it against Mountain Lakes.
This was almost a game to determine the top public school that would represent the TOC. And look at Sammy Bayboom. It was already 1-0 Summit. It'll stay 1-0 Sammy. And then Chris Zanelli. Watch the assist from Strabley. Oh, yeah. Go up and get it. It was 2-0 in the first quarter. Second quarter, Matty Fischetti. Good ball movement, little flash. Goes top side over there. It's 3-0. And James Strabley. Strabley was great. Look at Kyle Waldron. Little backside dump. It was 4-0. You notice the theme going on here? There's a shutout, and they keep adding goals. Jared Ross. Look at Jared. It's 5-0. And then Fischetti again. What a statement the Hilltoppers would make in this game. Fischetti, like Barishnikov. He's airborne. It was 6-0. It was now 7-1, and when Matty Muller scores, with still 10 minutes left in the third quarter, it was 8-1. And Summit, yes, they make the statement, we are the top public school in the state. An emphatic 10-3 victory. Strabley with a 2-3 in the semi.
And he was still working after the game. Did you know that?
He should be.
This defense has been absolutely our backbone all season, and the fact that we got to kind of give them a break today and not have them, as they usually are, just constantly playing defense and working against their offense, I think was definitely helpful for moving forward. And I think it was good for them to have some more confidence in the offense, because I think that's been the area where we've been lacking, if anywhere, this season.
Don't care who we play, just come out the same way we did today and play as hard as we can and just do our best.
Mike, were those guys afraid of you? They kept their helmets on in the interview, buddy.
No, man, that goes back to football. Guys, teams keep their helmets on. Don't take them off till they get into the locker room or onto the bus. That's the old football thing. No, they were cool.
Really? Because Summit kids are historically good-looking kids. I thought maybe they were worried about helmet head. They wanted to look good for the TV. You're saying that's a tradition just to keep it on.
Well, I was holding, yeah, absolutely. I was holding that microphone, though, and they're not used to seeing me with that thing, just my table recorder on my head.
They thought it was a weapon.
That's right. They just weren't sure.
All right, Mike, put me in the mindset, okay? In Morris County, we know about the great rivalry between Del Barton and Mountain Lakes. They're pretty much guaranteed playing twice every year.
Yep.
The Summit Del Barton rivalry, is it as intense as Del Barton Mountain Lakes? Because they don't play all the time. They're not always guaranteed to play.
Well, they're in the Fitch pit together, so they have played the last couple of years. Del Barton has moved around in divisions, so you're right. But the last few years they have been in the same division, the Fitch pit. So they have played in the regular season. It's very intense, Mike, but nothing matches Del Barton and Mountain Lakes in boys lacrosse in the state of New Jersey. There is nothing, and it will be a while for something to be close. There are other close ones, and there are some that still exist that are, that have stood the test of time and are very good. Summit, Westfield and Summit, for instance, but teams go up and down through a lot of those other ones. Del Barton and Mountain Lakes is the premier matchup in the state of New Jersey.
But that being said, Del Barton Mountain Lakes has become a rivalry of parity. I mean, when Del Barton beats Mountain Lakes in that Morris County Championship, what do they go up, 13-12 historically or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing about the Del Barton Summit rivalry. Summit, it was starting to creep into Del Barton's head, I would think, because they have a history, Mike, of beating them in these big games, beating them this year in the regular season, beating them in the TOC. So if you're one of those Del Barton parents, I think you're probably a little more concerned about your team playing well against Summit than you are against Mountain Lakes.
Answer that one, Kinney.
What do you think?
Well, the last couple of years that's true because Summit had gotten Del Barton in the big game. You're right, but Mountain Lakes is always there. Mountain Lakes will always be there. Even when they're not a great team, they're a pest to Del Barton. And you know what? This year, certainly because Del Barton handled Mountain Lakes so easily in the Morris County Tournament final, though the first game was a close game. You're right. This year, Summit was the team that was there. Listen, Del Barton looks at everybody as a team that wants to expose them, as this team that wants to beat them. Del Barton, there's a small sense of paranoia and also a small sense of superiority that they approach to every team. They know every team wants to get them. And Summit definitely wants to get them and usually has a good enough team and that zone defense that can challenge them. So, yeah, that's a good point, Jim.
Hey, you got one, man. Nice.
All right, good night, everybody. Take care.
Hey, Mike, that hat you wear when you're out there in football and lacrosse, that's a Piscataway or a Pittsburgh Pirate hat?
It's a little bit of both.
You like the Pirates, right?
Yeah.
Like, remember the late 70s, We Are Family, Stars and Little Boys?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it is bizarre how Del Barton is now in that mix of, it's seemingly every game. It started with Kirst, then the Mackeys, now the Cordrays. What in the world is going on? Everybody's related that plays at Del Barton.
This was a cool dynamic. It was great, too? It just gave me easy stories leading up to the state tournament. Because I could just talk to somebody's dad or somebody's cousin or somebody's uncle, and I had a story. It was fantastic. Sure, going back to the Mackeys facing off against each other in Bergen Catholic and Del Barton, and the Cordray cousins playing in the championship. John, of course, great attackman for Summit, and Emmett for Del Barton. And then you had the whole Kirst dynamic, which was outstanding. You had Kyle Kirst, who is maybe the best defensive coach in the state of New Jersey. Certainly one of them. Because Matt Kowalczyk from Del Barton is also an outstanding assistant coach and defensive genius.
Yeah.
But you had Dad coaching against his son Connor, and Colin Kirst is a goalie for Seton Hall. So those brothers and the dad son dynamic was very lively. It was great. I'd never had the year quite like that. Had a lot of brothers on teams, had some cousins on teams together, certainly the McBrides and all that, but not like this. This was cool.
And these Cordrays, I mean, their daddies have some great bloodlines there. You know who they played for, Jim?
Yeah, they were players.
Alan Lowe at Manhasset.
Sure.
The great Alan Lowe, one of the all-time winningest coaches in New York State history. Mike, I thought it was pretty neat. We all know about this Summit defense, 3 goals allowed per game. This year, they allowed a team to score 7 goals just twice. It was that same team, Del Barton. And 3 times this year, Del Barton was held to 7 goals. Their first meeting against Summit, lost. Their second meeting to St. Anthony's, lost. But the one that mattered most, 7 was lucky. 7-5, Del Barton rings the bell for the first time since '06. Here are the highlights. The Tournament of Champions final. So out we go. And Willie McCarthy tied at 1, 6 minutes left in the first quarter. And then Bebu, as you guys talked about, was absolutely sensational there. McBride goes low. Sammy says, no, you don't. And he was just getting started, Jim.
Look at it. Look at the eyes on Bebu. I can't see his eyes, but I know they're wide open right here. Look at him climb the ladder, seeing the ball great. And when you have that kind of defense that Summit has, and Bebu comes out hot, you're like, uh-oh, if you're the Green Wave.
Tied at 2. Mike just talked about him. John Cordray, the junior for Summit, works the cage, gets it to go. 3-2, 26 seconds left in the half. Emmett had the whole half to think about it. He said, Johnny, we're keeping it in the family, pal. He goes low, and the Princeton bounder tied it at 3 early in the third. And now Emmett was just getting started. He had 3 against Ridgewood in the semifinals, and now here his second consecutive goal puts the Green Wave up 4-3. Jordan Dowiak, oh my gosh. Look at that concentration and toughness going down, gets it to go against that great Hilltopper defense. And then it's EC with the assist from McCarthy. Doorstep on his knees. Yeah, big time goal. 6-3 with a second left in the third. Summit trailed by a point now, 1-goal game. Strabley, wonderful player.
Oh, I mean, this is now Summit saying, hey, don't go anywhere. This is the Hilltopper time.
Here's Dowiak, the big right-handed shot. Bebu makes the save, can't control it. McBride pops it in the back of the net.
Scrappy around the net, that second chance, he made the most of it.
Kalvalski, he was great against Bergen, and he was great in this game. Big save there to keep the 7-5 lead alive, and then later on, this late in the game, gets another one as Del Barton goes on to win it. 7-5. Celebration time for the Green Wave. It has been a long time, and that celebration, because you know there's a whole bunch of brothers and stuff that go there, that was a celebration of 8 years of, wow, we finally did it.
And listen, it's about this team. Okay, we heard J.J. McBride talk about his brother Jack, who was on the last team. But then you think about the guys in between. You know, you mentioned Will Reynolds. Will Reynolds,
accidentally,
epic player, but you know, Will Reynolds, you know, always came up short.
Absolutely.
You know, Will Reynolds had that incredible victory with Don Bosco where they scored 4 goals in the last 2 minutes. You're thinking, of course they're going to win it. They didn't win it after that. You know, you got the guys like, Mike, you got guys like the Whites. You know, Terry, Alex, Jamie, the McNeese boys, Mike, Brennan, Eric. You know, it's the guys that came up a little short that I think maybe the Chuck Rublin thinks about on this day. Everything those guys put into it just didn't get to the finish line. This team did.
That's you, Kinney. Let it rip.
This is what happens when you got 2 mics.
That's it. Mike, do you think it was a relief not only for this group but for Del Barton Lacrosse in general?
Oh, no question about it. It's a relief. There's no doubt about it. They with what they had done starting in '99 and into that 2006 season, they became the premier team in the state of New Jersey. They became the king. They became the program that everyone else, if they wanted to be an excellent lacrosse program, would have to fashion themselves after the Green Wave. And then they lost it there for a few years, and they took it very personal. There's no doubt about it. This was hanging over them like a heavy cloud this year. There's no doubt about it, because they felt they had the team to do it just like last year, and it might have been, cataclysmic had they not won this one.
Kinney's using great words in this show today. did you get a sense?
Is that an astronomy term, cataclysmic?
Did you get a sense that Rubling was relieved beyond relief in this game?
Yeah, I did get a sense. You know, he hides it very well, but I definitely had a sense. You know, just had this sense like, whoo, man. Yeah, the boys did it. The boys did. But, you know, he did a fantastic job coaching this team. There's no doubt about it. You know, and a lot of that, he shouldn't be that surprised because he and Matt Kowalczyk, they are, you know, two of the outstanding coaches in the state. And these guys were smart and savvy and tough, this Del Barton team. And you mentioned it earlier, Mike, they were cohesive. This team had a great bond together. And that's also got to give credit to the seniors who didn't get on the field very much. And Chuck certainly did after the game. He talked about he had 22 seniors, and he said probably more than half of them didn't play very much. And I got to give credit to those guys, the way they pushed the other kids who were the starters. So, yeah, this was a team with a tight bond, and they played that way.
It was nice to see Chuck let his hair down after the game.
You know, we want to take, you know, one step at a time. You know, when they lay out the goals and win TSC, say, hey, let's win the next game, and then let's think about the conference, let's think about the counties, and then let's think about the non-public group, and then let's talk about the TFC and break it down into compartments instead of making one big whole, you know, picture and feeling that your season is over after you lost to St. Anthony's in the second game or Summit in the second game.
It's a long season, and to cap it like this with the championship, what are you feeling?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, you know, I couldn't be more proud of these kids and this group of guys, and we worked really hard for this one, and we're going to enjoy it.
I mean, it's surreal right now. I mean, Del Barton hasn't been there in a while, and we've been looking forward to this game all season. We're preparing for this game since December. It's just unbelievable.
You know, Cordray lives in Summit.
Hey, listen, for Cordray, and think about that, because it doesn't happen often. Summit is one of those lacrosse towns. They do not lose many kids. It's one of the great junior feeder programs in America, 1,000 kids. And by the way, tip of the cap to Summit. Both their boys and girls took the season to the limit.
Right, sure.
Okay, and that's a tribute to those moms and those dads and those coaches at the junior level. And for Cordray, who's maybe not, you know, one of their movie stars, Del Barton, he had a huge TOC.
Semifinals.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, hat tricks.
Beautiful performance by him.
What did JJ say?
I'm so proud of these kids. JJ McBride. He's like Senator McBride. I mean, he's just like, he sounds like the coach. You know what I mean? Matt and Chuck do a great job of running the show. Matt's the vocal coach on the sidelines. Chuck is more of the, you know, understated guy. But did you hear JJ? I'm so proud of these kids.
He's great.
Oh my God.
Hey, Mike, did you get? Now I know when the games end, you got to do all your interviews, and you know you got to start and filing your story. Did you notice if the Del Barton team kind of hung back longer than normal after a game, just kind of soak it all in because it's been so long?
Mike, the game was over. We went through the interviews, went through more interviews, chatted with a few people for a while, talked to a few other parents. I went and talked to a few people from Bridgewater who were hanging around for about 10 minutes. I went to my car. When I got to my car to get ready to file, and I drove past the field, the lights were still on, and 3/4 of the Del Barton team and their parents were still on the field.
That's good.
Yeah, they hung around for a little bit, savoring this one.
Yeah, that it's been a long time, and that just answers the question that in the beginning when I asked both you guys who had more pressure. Well, that answers it. If they're hanging around that long, the pressure turned into just a huge relief at the end.
And that's the beauty of New Jersey. The one thing you love about New Jersey, as opposed to Connecticut and New York, is New Jersey plays king of the hill in lacrosse. Last man standing. You are the one and only champion in the entire state. That's very powerful.
No doubt.
Yeah. And you know what, Mike? After the game, talked to Jim Davidson, and he's one of the classiest guys around. I don't care what sport it is. He said we got all we could out of these guys. These guys gave us everything they could. They got us beyond wherever we could have imagined. Everyone should be proud of them, and he meant it, and he was completely sincere with that. And I agreed with him. He said you guys did a tremendous job coaching. These kids are bulldogs, these Summit kids, and for all intents and purposes, they were not a great offense. They hadn't, tough to say they had a real right to be in that tournament champions final, but they were so well coached. They were so determined. They came up so clutch when they needed to. They got there, but they were not as good a team as Del Barton. As simple as that. But hats off to them for being in there. Amazing.
When the season comes to an end, Kinney's work is not done, nor is ours.
Oh boy.
We will have Clark will be by next week. We'll talk about the All-Metro teams, first, second, and honorable mention. Mike, real quickly, as the final, well, this will be the second to last final top 20. Will this be a hard team for you to put together on the New Jersey side? Real quick.
The All-State team, yes, it will be a hard team. It's always hard for me, Mike. It's very hard for me to pick guys over other guys, and there's a lot of close kids. Yes, it's extremely difficult.
All right, buddy. Great job. We'll do it again next week. Mike Kinney, Jimmy Cavallo.
The Green Machine. Green with envy.